So just days ahead of talks in Geneva aimed at seeking a way out of the Syrian civil war, President Assad is reported as saying he has no intention of giving up power and it isn't up for discussion. Syrian state media cast doubt on the reports, which came as the UN told Channel 4 News that without a deal in Geneva, humanitarian conditions in the country could soon get worse. Aid has finally reached the besieged Damascus district of Yarmouk, where at least 15 people have already died of malnutrition. But as Cordelia Lynch reports, it's all too little and much too late. And be warned, her report does contain some very distressing images.
Yarmouk, a district of devastation. These are the first boxes of aid to arrive since September. But it will only feed 330 this month. There are around 17,500 who still need help, trapped in the rubble, many already starving. This man says he's feeding his son scraps from the rubbish bins. The queue started in the early morning, but for most of them, there was nothing at the end of it. We're starving, this woman says. The people of Yarmouk are exhausted, trying to cling on to life. Today, these children were grateful for just a handful of milk and sugar, but the regime is tightening its grip, starving the rebels and even the young. These next images are very distressing. Shortly after they were filmed, activists say Ella al-Masri died of starvation. Some reports say she is one of 40 to have died from hunger.
We have reports of children with rickets, with anemia and other symptoms of malnutrition. There are reports of people eating animal feed, people diluting spices in unsafe water, burning furniture on terraces just to keep warm. There's almost no electricity, no safe water. Things are unimaginably painful for the civilians of Yarmouk.
But 15 of the most vulnerable were allowed out. Families reunited away from the horror of Yarmouk. Thank God you're safe and well, she says. This man says there's no food or water inside. He's been surviving off cactus and grass. Assad's forces have surrounded Yarmouk since July, trying to overcome the rebels inside. The offer of aid may be seen as a concession, but President Assad continued his game of poker, reportedly telling Russian MPs off camera his departure was not to be discussed at the Geneva peace talks next week. His office later denied he'd said it, proof perhaps that he didn't want to be seen to undermine negotiations before they've even begun.
One fears if they do collapse, and one has to be optimistic because there has been some progress in recent days, but one can only imagine that the situation will worsen, and that to the detriment of the civilians trapped in this conflict.
And the suffering is already hard to imagine. In Aleppo, this video appears to show a mass grave of victims killed by an al-Qaeda-affiliated group. Syria is a country stuck between tyranny and extremists, with civilians trying desperately to cheat death.